place. So let's go to that place within us where God resides. So if you would please, and you feel comfortable, take a deep breath with me. And close your eyes and just exhale any tension you brought in here with you. And let's take another deep breath, pulling in the energy of the earth. And exhale and relax and release. We are holy beings. We are human beings, and we are divine beings. And even though we walk this earth as human beings, we know that in our hearts, in our bodies, in our minds, in our souls, we are divine beings. We carry that light, that energy of the divine within us. We actualize that light and that energy. We feel energized in our hearts, in our souls. That rushing that you feel is the energy of the divine in you. You do carry the light of the divine. You are a beacon that burns in the night, shining goodness and positivity and safety and love and comfort to all those who need that. You carry the light of the divine. And you actualize that to put goodness into the world. Thank you for being here on this planet to add your love and your light and your comfort to all those in need. And I ask you to sit for just a minute in the silence, and as you do, contemplate your inner divine light. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. You carry the light of God within you. It manifests as you. You are a beacon that's burning bright. You carry the light of the divine. And we are so grateful. Thank you, God. And so it is. Yeah, I'll tell you what. These Arizona allergies are kicking my butt. That's all I can tell you. So you may hear the voice breaking, but we're just going to slide right on through it, okay? And I'll come back to you, I promise. I will carry the light. We all carry the light inside of us. And where does that expression of the light start? It starts with seeing with spiritual eyes. Now, I know you don't know what that means because I made that up. But I am going to tell you what that means as we go through today. There's a lot of chaos and things in the world that are disturbing right now. Everybody can agree to that, I hope, I think. And so in one way, we can look at the world and feel fearful and disturbed. And there's also a lot of beauty and wonder and goodness in the world right now. And we can look at that and feel safe and happy, right? So, is the world a fearful place or is the world a happy place? Which is it? Both. It is both. It is both. A fearful and a happy place. And how does that land for you? It depends on how you see it. It depends on your beliefs. It depends upon your thoughts. It depends upon your actions as to whether the world is a fearful and disturbing place for you personally, and you enter into that energy, or the world is a wonderful and beautiful place where we all come together to help each other in our problems, in which case you feel needed and wanted, and you feel like you are doing the work you came here to do. And that's going to depend on your belief systems, it's going to depend on your thoughts and your actions as well. So what I'm going to say is that the world is both, and we can make a difference because we do carry God's light. So we'll make a difference in how we feel and act in the world. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Because here's the other thing. We go back and forth. It's not like, well, I'm a person who sees the world as fearful, so that's me. And I'm the person who feels the world is great, and I'm happy to be here, and that's me. No, we move back and forth with those states of mind, depending on a lot of different things. How we're feeling, what's happening, if we're having a good day, if we're tired and cranky, whatever. If you don't like how you're feeling, if you don't like what you're thinking in any given moment, if you just feel crabby, I can show you how to move out of that. You don't have to stay there. It's not a permanent state. I'll show you how to move out of that feeling and be more empowered and be able to be the person you came here to be. Is that what you want, to be the person you came here to be? Yes? No? Maybe? Yes? Good. Good. All right, so that's what we're going to take a look at today. I've got a few. Let me first identify the two states that we're going to be working with before I launch into the examples I have about it. One is, if you see the world as fearful, there's a category word that I'm using is called ego eyes, seeing the world through ego-centered eyes. So let me tell you what I mean when I say ego-centered eyes. What I mean is that you have during those times when we all see through ego-centered eyes, we are looking at a very narrow lens. We're seeing the world through a very narrow lens. It's all about me. In that narrow lens, all we are concerned with is it's all about me. How do things affect me? How do they affect my family? How do they affect my friends? And that's pretty much it. We're pretty much, I don't care what happens outside of this, it's me and all like that. I have a course I teach called Leaving Lightly, Getting Your Affairs in Order So All You Leave Behind Is Love. And we have foundational principles, and one of the first foundational principles is that it's all about getting your affairs in order. It's all about you. But it's not about you. And when you see with ego-centered eyes, then it's all about me, right? And so if you take that, on the times when we all take that, if it's I don't care what's going on with anybody else, it's me, what's going on with me. So when we do that, this opens ourselves up to feel fear. Right? One of the byproducts of that, the behaviors that occur when we're just thinking about ourselves, our thoughts are all about ourselves, is we feel fear, right? And if you take it to extremes, then we might even add some paranoia in there of people are out to harm me, nothing's good, and people are trying to take away my rights or take away my whatever, who cares? It's not good. You know, if you're feeling fearful, if you're feeling crabby, does this help you? No. It helps you in no way whatsoever. Does it help anybody else? No. Surely does not. Is this what we came here to do? No, absolutely not. So that's one thing about that. You can, if you're looking at an ego-centered lens, you can also feel greed as what I was just saying. I have mine, I don't care if you have yours. And this, you know what, we saw this during COVID. We saw this when my husband made his career as a teacher, and one of his students came in right at the start of COVID, before the lockdown, and his student said, my dad went to Costco yesterday. My dad bought, and I think something along the lines of 17 Costco cartons of toilet paper and took it home. Pretty much cleared the shelves there, And so David, being David, the math person that he is, he started figuring out how many rolls of toilet paper, how's as long as it's going to last a family of 4, right? So he figured this purchase would last this guy's family 4 years, 5 years? 5 years, yeah. So this guy bought enough toilet paper to last his family 5 years. Now, are the rest of us supposed to go out and buy bidets? That's what I want to know, right? So what about us? He didn't care about us. What he cared about was him and his family, because he was looking through a very narrow lens, right? And we all saw the shelves on the grocery stores that were cleared out of product because somebody was really only thinking about themselves. That's what happens when you look and see the world through ego-centered eyes. Also, there's judgment. Judgment is such an insidious and really tough way to be in this world. It's a tough energy. It's us and the other, Anybody who's not like me in any way, shape, or form is the other, right? And so when we separate ourselves, I'm not connected to you because you are a different religion, you are a different sexual persuasion, you are a different political person than I am, or whatever the case may be. Here's me, here's you, I don't care about you, I just care about me, right? So that's when I am looking through the world through ego-centered eyes. And there is a desire very often with this, if I'm only looking about me and only care about me, power and status is very enticing. So whatever I need to do to gain power, to gain status, because you know what, when I do that, I feel better about myself because I've got a title or I've got a whatever, and I'm better than you, thank you very much. Right? You know people like that, don't you? Right? And the tough part is when we enter into that state. I'll share with you a time when I entered into that state, and thankfully, it's not that we're not perfect, we're fallible human beings. But when we see ourselves doing that, we can stop ourselves and we can make a different choice. I'll show you how you can change that around. So if you catch yourself being judgmental or greedy or fearful, whatever it is, and you don't want to feel that, you can make a different choice. So we'll take a look at that. The different choice would be seeing yourself through spiritual eyes. So what's spiritual eyes? Well, I love this poem by 17th century poet John Donne. We all know it. But it's really all. It's not about. It's all about you. It's not about you. So in the greedy eyes, it's all about me. In the spiritual eyes, it's not about me, because no man's an island. This is what John Donne said. No man is an island, entire itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. So no man is an island, right? So seeing through spiritual eyes is recognizing that we share a common creator. That entity that we call God, that supreme being that we call God, created everyone and everything in this planet, in the universe, animate and inanimate, right? He created everything. So how can we be separate? How can we be different? How can I be better than you? Because you're created by God the same as I'm created by God. Did God make me better than you? No. Right? So it's recognizing that all of creation is sacred. And when we know and recognize that all of creation is sacred, we revere all of creation. And when you revere something, you take care of it. Do you not? Yeah, you do. So seeing with spiritual eyes is moving from the ego-centered perspective of it's all about me, and going into the perspective of no man is an island. We're all in this together. And if I'm divine because God made me, how could I not be divine? So I have divine energy in me as a creation of God, and so do you. So I will do everything that I can to help you, and you will do what you can to help me. It's a beautiful synergetic operation that we have going here, right? So that's what seeing through spiritual eyes are. So I'm going to give you a few examples of people who have seen through spiritual eyes and what that actually looks like. I'm going to start with the story of the Good Samaritan. I've always loved that story. I can't exactly tell you why, but I think I like it because the people chose to do good. Some people chose not to do good, but some people chose, so there was one man, the Good Samaritan, chose to do good. And so I'm just going to refresh your memory because it may have been a while since you've heard this. And I'm going to talk about ego eyes and spiritual eyes as I read this. So if you recall, to set up the story of the Good Samaritan, Jesus was teaching in the Jewish temple. And there was a lawyer there, and he was always everybody was always trying to trip him up, right? So there was a lawyer in the Jewish temple, and he was trying to trip up Jesus. And so he asked him, what's the greatest commandments? And so Jesus did all that, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love God and love yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. And so the lawyer said, so who's my neighbor, right? I want you to think for a minute, who is your neighbor? Before we even start this story, think about who's your neighbor. So anyway, here was Jesus' answer to who is your neighbor. He said, a man was going from Jerusalem to Jericho, and lo, he met with robbers on the way, who beat him and robbed him of his goods and left him bleeding in the street. A Pharisee was going down the way. He saw the wounded man, but he had no time to lose, so he passed by on the other side, right? So this Pharisee saw a man beaten and bloody and dying on the side of the road, but he had a time constraint. He had to be somewhere in some amount of time. And he says, well, I can't deal with you. I've got to go, right? What eyes was he seeing through? Ego eyes, don't you think? Okay, it's all about me, right? All right, the Levite came and saw the man, but he was loath to soil his sacred robes, and he passed by. So again, all about me. This guy's bleeding and dying, but if I stop and help him, I'm going to get my robes dirty. Forget about it. I'm out of here, right? So that was him. The lawyer on his way to Jericho observed the dying man, and then he said, if I could make a shekel, I might help the man, but he's got nothing left, and I have no time for charity, and he passed on. So it was for the lawyer, what's in it for me, right? We all know people like that. And so, was he seeing through ego eyes or spiritual eyes? He was seeing through ego eyes. And then a stranger from Samaria came that way. And he saw the wounded man, and his heart was touched with pity. And he stopped and dismounted from his horse and revived the man, placed him on his horse, and took him to the inn and charged the keeper of the inn to nurse him back to strength. He gave the keeper all the money he had. And he said, your charges may be more than this, but care for this unfortunate. And when I come again, I'll pay all. And then he went his way. Now, master of the law, said Jesus, which of these four was neighboring unto him who fell among the thieves? And the lawyer said, well, the man who showed him mercy, who cared for him. And Jesus said, go on your way, and likewise do, and you shall live. Right? So, the only person in that scenario who was seeing with spiritual eyes was the Good Samaritan. The man also from Samaria, his countrymen, but he did not know this man. He did not ask for a reward. He did not ask not to get his hands or his clothes dirty. He saw that this man was dying, and he decided to help him. And so he helped him. And not only helped him to survive this, but he gave the innkeeper all the money that he had to help this stranger. And he said, look, if you need more, I'll give you more when I come back this way. Right? What was that Good Samaritan seeing through? Spiritual eyes. Because no man is an island. Because it's not about me. It's about everyone else, because we're all connected. We're all sacred. We're all revered. Right? So I love that story. Another story I'm going to give you has nothing to do with Good Samaritans. It has to do with when I was really stupid. Okay? I want to tell you a story about a time I was really stupid. Because I said, we all see through different eyes at different times, I was seeing through ego eyes, and I was able to get off it in a second, just in a second. But let me tell you what happened as soon as I take care of the desert in my throat. Just a second. Yes, indeed. Okay, thank God for water. That's all I can say. So in 2005, I went to Northern Ireland to be a part of a program of peace and reconciliation with the Mastery Foundation. That foundation is dedicated to doing the work of peace and reconciliation to divided people in countries that are torn by war and division. And so I was there with them. We were in a peace and reconciliation workshop. If you think that the 30-year war with Ireland, Northern Ireland, was about religion between the Protestants and the Catholics, it was not. It was a cultural war. And even though their peace accord had been signed 7 years earlier than when I was there, what was not done was the healing work. 30 years of civil war, can you imagine? And they really became dedicated to stopping the war when they realized that everybody in Ireland under 30 had only known war in their lifetime. They never knew a lifetime without war. So they said, we've got to put an end to this. I don't care if we agree, disagree. Let's stop the shooting. So they did. But they did not know how to get along, and there was still fear and suspicion of the Catholics and the Protestants and the Protestants and the Catholics. And when I was in the workshop with them, I was told by a Protestant person, when I was growing up, my mom told me that the Catholics eat their young. And I heard from a Catholic person who was in this same group I was with, she says, well, when growing up, my mom told me the Protestants eat their young. And in this workshop, what they discovered was that nobody eats their young. They were so shocked to be sitting, the Catholic person and the Protestant person, face to face, and finding out that the other, the demon, who'd been demonized all their lives, the other was like them, just like them, right? So it was such a healing experience for them. Well, now here's me. And I had a very, 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 very strong opinion about Northern Ireland politics. I had no right to an opinion, but that didn't stop me from having one, and a very, very, very strong one. And there were 8 political parties at the time, and I had the one that I thought was the right one, and the one that I thought was the awful one, the really, really, really bad one, right? And so much so that in my unknowing and in my hubris, I decided that I wanted nothing to do with that political party. Well, that's a problem because, and I really hated that party, hated it. And the only, I hated nothing. I don't hate anything, except maybe liver and onions. But aside from that, I hate nothing. So for me to hate that political party so much, so out of character for me, right? So anyway, as part of the Mastery Foundation, we had this meet and greet at City Hall with the Lord Mayor of Belfast, and that wasn't a problem, except that he was with the political party that I hated. And I didn't want to go, but I was part of the Mastery Foundation folks, and I had to. So here we are, meet and greet, cocktail party, everybody's in a semicircle in this really old big room. Lord Mayor going around, shaking hands, talking to people. I was like, I am so not going anywhere close to this Lord Mayor. So Lord Mayor's here, and so I'm like, position myself over here. Okay, I'm here. Talk, and all of a sudden he's done talking. He moves around to the next group of people, and so here he's now closer to me, and I don't like this. So I'm moving like over here, right? Talk, and now he's coming over here. It's like, oh my God. So I just like move myself back over here, away from him, and now he's there, and I'm here, and we're all just fine. And all of a sudden now he starts coming to me. It's like, holy cow. I was so panicked at this point in time that the only place that I haven't been, that he hasn't been, he's talked to everybody but me, really, so was the bathroom. I was trying to think, oh my God, how can I get out of here without being obvious, running, screaming from the room to go to the bathroom? Maybe he won't follow me in there, So that was what I was thinking. And just as I was looking for the door, that with the British, ding, 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 a little bell, ding, 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 ding. Oh, it's time for the Lord Mayor to come talk now, and everybody sit down. It's like, thank you, God, saved by the bell, right? So Lord Mayor comes, he takes his little podium, and it's like musical chairs, everybody finds their chairs, and my chair happened to have been close to the Lord Mayor. I sit there, and now I'm safe. I'm just watching him. He's talking, talking about his children, talking about his wife, how his family's so tolerant of him being late home, getting home for dinner, and I'm looking at him and kind of listening to him, and it just dawns on me. He's just an ordinary bloke like me. He's just like me. Just like anybody else in this room. Just an ordinary bloke doing what he thinks is best for his country, best for his family, best for his city. And when I saw that, I was able to get off of my hatred of his political party and him and all like that. It evaporated in a second because I saw how I had narrowed into that ego eyes, and it was just all about me and who cared about them, and I was right and they were wrong. I saw all that bad thinking. It's like, no, he's just an ordinary bloke like me. And you know what? I gave it all up. All that hatred that I've been carrying for almost a decade, I gave it up in that second, right? And I went to the people later at the Mastery Foundation, and I confessed my sins. And they said, well, welcome to the human race. But we talked about how I can move out of that space of judgment and fear and labeling someone the other, right? It was a powerful, powerful moment. So that was a time when I was looking through ego-centered eyes, and I was able to, through the grace of God, look at this man through spiritual eyes and understand him as another fellow traveler on the path. Mother Teresa, another of my heroes. Mother Teresa's been one of my heroes for a long time. And basically, we all know Mother Teresa's story and history. I mean, we know her well. But Mother Teresa, she entered the Sisters of Loretto when she was 18, and then at 19 she went to India, and she taught at the mother school. She taught at the school that she taught at for 20 years as a teacher, as a Mother Superior. And it was on a train in India in 1946 that she got what she called a call within a call. We call it a divine download. God spoke to her and he said, leave what you're doing and go take care of, minister to the poorest of the poor in the slums of Calcutta. Now, you've got to understand Calcutta, especially at that time, was equated with total human waste, human slum. Everything that was considered garbage was in Calcutta and the streets of Calcutta. And people lived there because they were homeless, they were sick, they'd been abandoned by their family. So there were so many people there, and she ministered all them. And she ended up creating, she created a lot of homes for the dying, and she took care of them. And it was so beautiful. But here's the thing about Mother Teresa's story. Did you know that she was depressed for 50 years? That she had a dark night of the soul, what we call now a dark night of the soul? Back when she got the directive to leave the school and go minister people in Calcutta, she entered into a dark night of the soul. A dark night of the soul is a spiritual crisis. It's where you don't feel connected to God anymore. You don't feel God, you don't see God, It's like there's this big chasm between you and God. And that's what she felt all those years. She was on the streets of Calcutta for the better part, more than 50 years. All that time, she felt disconnected from God, that God had abandoned her. And yet, feeling that way, this woman was able to accomplish immense things. She won a Nobel Peace Prize, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the Order of Merit. She won all that. And also, the Missions of Charity still continues today. And as of 2023, now it has grown to, I think it started out as 12 sisters, it's grown to now 5,750 nuns operating 760 homes across 139 countries. They run orphanages, AIDS hospices, leper colonies, soup kitchens, schools for street children, shelters for the refugees, the elderly, the mentally ill, and disaster victims. That's what they do. And it all started, the genesis was a woman on a train who answered the call to go to the worst place in her world, in India, and minister to the people who were there. And she was looking for validation as to how can I reconcile all this, my depression, my not feeling connected to God, with what I'm doing. And there was a story that she relates, and this shows how it all came together for her. One day she found a man lying in the filthy gutter, his emaciated body covered in open sores, riddled with maggots and worms from neglect. There was a lot of that for her. Without hesitation, she and her sisters gently lifted him, carried him to their home for the dying. It took 3 hours of painstaking care to clean his wounds, picking up the maggots, washing away the rot, and tending him with the little supplies they had. remarkably, the man didn't complain of his sores or his curse. Instead, he looked up gratefully and said, I've lived like an animal in the street, but I'm going to die like an angel, loved and cared for. And as he breathed his last, a radiant smile lit his face, reflecting peace and dignity in his final moments. And that was proof from Mother Teresa of love's transformative power. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And what she was able to do to reconcile what her work was she was able to see every individual and everything she did for them as doing small things with great love, because she saw the Christ in all his distressing disguises. That's how she viewed everyone she took care of, as the Christ in all his distressing disguises. And she accomplished miracles, did she not? And so she's a woman who saw with spiritual eyes even when it was the hardest for her to do. You know, God bless her is all I can say. The last example I'm going to give you is of the Artemis II astronauts. All of us know that story. It's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. But here's the thing about the Artemis II astronauts. They were put in a situation where their vision, their spiritual eyes, was so expanded, they had nothing to relate it to. The brain needs things to relate to, or it can't make sense of it. Their brain couldn't make sense of it because they were in the energy of God. They were in the energy of the cosmos. They saw things, they felt things, they experienced things beyond what they had ever felt or saw before. And they didn't know how to make sense of it, but it was wondrous and it was beautiful, and they were happy, and they came back and they wanted so bad to relate what their experiences were, but they didn't have the words for it. But they did have a few quotes that the media was able to grab here and there, and I want to read you a few quotes because it showed what they experienced. The pilot, Victor Glover, said, in all of this emptiness, this whole bunch of nothing we call the universe, we have this oasis of Earth, this beautiful place that we get to exist in together. He saw it as a privilege, as a blessing, that we all get to exist here in this little oasis of beauty among all the nothingness together. What a blessing that is, isn't it? Yeah. And he also said, trust us, you look amazing. You look marvelous. You look beautiful, and from up here, you also look like one thing. You're all one human family. Right? And he says, regardless of your background or appearance, we are one people. They got that from being there. Reed Wiseman, it was very interesting. He was the commander. And he said one of the things, he said, you know, you see when they blasted away from Earth and looked back at Earth, he says, you see the globe from pole to pole. He said it was the most stunning moment, and it left all four of us momentarily speechless. It's very hard to fully grasp what we went through, right? It was too immense and too beautiful. Their view was expanded so much. And I love this part. You know, this capsule splashes down, and they get retrieved by the helicopter, and they get back on the ship, right? And as soon as they get to the ship, he sees a man with a white collar and a cross, you know, so he knows he's a chaplain. And he asks to speak to the chaplain. And when the chaplain comes over to him, he breaks down in tears. He just cries because he had this experience of God out there. And how do you come back and fit yourself into a narrow little box of earth when your view and your experience of life has expanded this much, right? This is what people with near-death experiences go through, right? So this gives you some idea of the difference then between seeing and living your life and having the thoughts of stop moving, of ego-centered eyes, right? Of a narrow view of it's just about me, and I don't care about you. We are an island, thank you very much, and you know, this is me. So holding that view and going to the view, this expanded view of seeing things with spiritual eyes, where no man is an island. And we are all in this together. We are all divine and sacred. We all revere each other. All of nature, all of us, we're all together because we've all been created by that same energy we call God, right? And so we if we see with spiritual eyes, we see the divine in us. We see the light in us. We carry the light in us. And when we carry the light in us, what do we do with it? We help others. We become greater versions of ourselves. We actualize ourselves because we came here for a purpose. We understand what that purpose is. We search our lifetimes to find that purpose, and we actualize that purpose because that's why we're here. We're not just taking up empty space. We are here to serve. We're here to be that Christ in expression. That's why we're here. And so seeing through spiritual eyes will open you up in beautiful, beautiful ways. And you can switch. If you find yourself caught, just come over here. And it's great fun. Okay? Thank you so much.